So good to see you. Welcome to the show. My name's Crystal Crawford. I'm an Access Consciousness facilitator. If you are new to me, I'm so grateful for this. These weekly shows have a topic, and to this week, I chose the topic Untriggered, what's possible beyond the big five. Now, if you are brand new to Access Consciousness and you have never heard of me, Access Consciousness, or the big five, don't worry. One of the things about this body of work is we just always jump in somewhere in the middle and throw ourselves into it. And so if you're watching this and it's keeping your attention, there's something you know. And what I want to explore today is some of the themes that emerged from a class that I just did 5 minutes before this show that hopefully will give you more of a sense of what it might take to change where you've been struggling or you've been triggered or you've felt stuck. Access Consciousness is a big body of tools that you can use to change anything in your life. And I've been a facilitator now for about 10 years. I've changed my entire life with this. Nothing is the same as it was yesterday or 10 years ago. What I love about it is that it's always changing, and it's a constant exploration of how much more of ourselves we can get access to and how we can do it. One of the latest explorations, discoveries with Access Consciousness is called the Big Five. And in simple terms, the Big Five are actually six. So we call it the Big Five, but there's six elements that basically form what we call reality. Now, I don't know how many of you, hi everybody, if you're watching live, I'd love to hear from you. I don't know how many of you have done a study on quantum physics. To be fair, I have not really done a study on quantum physics, but just before I found Access Consciousness, I was really grooving on a documentary called What the Bleep Do We Know? And it's essentially a layman's description of quantum physics and how the universe works. Now, even in the world of science, quantum physics is not considered an actual science because science requires proof. Like, science requires a theory that you prove. And so because you have a theory, you have to form all the proof to match that theory. So quantum physics isn't truly considered science by the science community. But in fact, it is. It's the study of the way things work. And if you watch that documentary, one of the things that is exposed in the conversations is how we, as energy, affect other energies. This was very interesting to me when I first discovered it, because I could see it. I could totally see how this would happen. Like, if you beam, Care Bear stare. If you Care Bear stare hatred at a living sentient thing, it's going to wither over time. And if you Care Bear stare gratitude to a living thing, it's going to thrive. And that's how things work. So I could see it, but I very distinctly remember, and I was so excited when I found this because it really did finally seem like I had found the answer to how I could be happy. I couldn't figure out how to be happy. Literally, I came into Access Consciousness tools with two asks. I wanted to have good relationships and I wanted to be happy. I couldn't figure that out. So I watched this documentary and I saw they show this lady taking a bath and just beating herself up. And for as long as I could remember, I had been a self-beater, self-abuser. I remember people saying to me, I don't know anybody who's as hard on themselves as you are. And I didn't know anybody either till I came to Access and found a bunch of other weirdos like me who'd been hard on themselves for years. So in the documentary, they show this lady beating up on herself, and I was like, that's me, and how that affected her molecules and what that created and how she walked through the world then feeling like a failure and feeling terrible and all this stuff. And so I remember closing that documentary on my computer and then getting into the shower. And I'm in the shower and I'm like, I was having a hard day, I think. So I'm washing my hair and I remember very distinctly trying to like myself in that moment. Trying to get around hating me. Because in that very moment, I hated me. I hated I don't even remember what the situation was, but it didn't really matter. There were so many different things I could hate myself about. How do I stop hating me? So in the documentary, they talk about how gratitude overcomes hatred. So I was doing my very, very best to drum up gratitude. It was such a memorable experience that I remember what the tiles in the shower looked like and how big it was. And I was trying to be grateful for myself. Now, I tell you this story to illustrate the big five because there's the information that we can have about how things work. We can watch the documentaries, we can read the books. There's so many cool books on quantum physics. There's a Happy Pocket Full of Money is a really great kind of quantum physics money book. There's so much stuff. The question is, how do you get it to work, right? Okay, so we've got the information. It's floating around out there. Okay, this is how things work. When you observe a molecule, it literally changes direction. A molecule is an inert, I would say a molecule is an active particulate that as soon as you give it a job, does the job. And it doesn't care what kind of job it has. So reality, this is the conversation, right? What is reality? Is formed of the jobs that we give it. And we give these molecules jobs via our energy, our energetic points of view. What I think is so powerful about access consciousness is that you can clear out the muck and the stuck and the fucked up without needing to know what it is, just acknowledging that it is, and then get access to more choices for different stuff. The thing is that most of these points of view, these energetic points of view that are forming our reality, are unconscious. And this does bring me to the big five, because what Access is doing is like, let's clear out as much of this unconscious point of view stuff as we possibly can. We'll start with the bars. Bars is 32 points on your head. When you lightly touch them, it like dissipates and releases lifetimes of points of view. You feel better, right? Because can you imagine carrying around 80 billion tons of points of view? It's fucking heavy, it's hard. You can't be you. So bars, without any effort, starts clearing that stuff out. And then it goes, well, hey, if you liked that, then there's more. So then let's go to foundation. In foundation, we start to really shatter the reality. And now, just so you guys know, in foundation is the big five. And now this is a real game changer. So the purpose of foundation is then to shatter your reality further so that you can get access to the choices you really have. My next foundation is coming up in South Africa in 2 weeks. Airplanes are wonderful. I'm going to be on 3 of them. You are invited. So let's shake this up in foundation. Let's actually shatter all these building blocks, right? And so these big 5 elements are really the composition of each block. And the thing about a big 5, pardon me, with something on my tooth. Yes, this show is live. Is that it's a Mobius strip. So have you guys ever seen the infinity loop? Some of you probably even have this tattooed on your body somewhere. This is a really popular sign for all kinds of things that I don't even know about. This is called an infinity loop in this reality, but what it really is a Mobius strip. What that means is it never ends. So it goes like this, right? So if you are doing one element on the strip, then it leads you directly to the other element, that leads you to the next element, that leads you to the next element, that leads you to the final element, that loops you back into the elements. But very similar to a matrix, you don't know you're in a Mobius strip because everyone else is in the same strip, and all of us around everywhere are telling each other that this is reality. The only reality that you have available to you is this strip. There is nothing else. There is nothing else possible. This is the way relationships work. I'm so sorry. It's so shitty, but that's all we've got. This is your money reality. I'm so sorry. It's so limited, but what are we going to do? This is the way bodies go. They age, they get older, they fall apart. I'm sorry, that's just reality. But if reality is formed, then can there be this is just reality? Like, reality is formed. We are the source of reality. So, what are we sourcing our reality from? To me, it's very much like if all you knew was a garbage pile. Let's say you were born, your mom lived in a garbage, like a big one, nice size. Let's not do a tiny garbage pile. I mean, around the world, there are these people, actually. I've seen documentaries in India and all these countries where there are people that actually live in the garbage pile. There are babies that are born in the garbage pile. If that's all you've known, and that's what you've known reality is, and that's from where you can create reality, then you're gonna do your best to make it work. That's all you've known. I don't know how many of you guys know this, but I was born into a very, I would say, small-ish cult. And you can go to the cultconversationsactually.com to find out more about this. But I was born into this. My parents were members of this small US cult. And I would say it was kind of like a blender religion. Like somebody got into New Age and metaphysics and pulled in some Hinduism and some Christianity and kind of the components that they liked about religion, and then created something. And that's what I was born into. So I didn't know anything else. So we were vegetarian. I didn't have a TV. My mom we didn't do like black pepper, black colors, rock music. I only listened to like John Denver and show tunes. I lived a very insulated life. I didn't even go to public school until I was in grade 4. So the outside world, which is what you guys were called, and now I'm a part of it, was, we were told before we got into the outside world that we were going to be different and to not worry about it. Like, don't worry, you're going to be different. Nobody's going to understand you. Don't try to share your beliefs. You're going to be different. So, but when I got into the outside world, it was shocking to me. It was very similar to like being plunged into the deepest possible ocean that was freezing cold. And I was just like in shock everywhere. The music shocked me. The themes shocked me. People shocked me. Like I felt like a little snowflake thrust into a bonfire. And why was I telling you this? Oh, I tell you this because in my teen years, long story short, my parents got divorced and my mom started looking for other religions, and we found Christianity, and it was this big evangelical church. Well, they had a very, very large youth group, and my experience with youth was terrible. I was so different and so quiet and so smart and all the trifecta of awful when it comes to social life as a teenager, that my peers in school just didn't either ignored me or made fun of me. So when I found this youth group of peers that seemed to care about me, I was in. Like, they wanted me. They wanted me to go with them. They wanted me to hang out with them. It turns out they wanted to convert me, but I didn't really care. And I didn't really get that at the time. But I remember, because they were trying to convert me, the conversations we would have. And one of the conversations we would have is, like, they would ask me what my beliefs were. Now, when it comes to deciding whether or not you belong to this group or this group, beliefs are important. Your beliefs have to match to belong to a group, which is the difference with access consciousness. We don't do beliefs, and you don't belong. You're just using the tools, or you're not. So, so they would ask me what my beliefs were. So I would tell them, because I was feeling safe and friendly and people were supporting me, so I would tell them. And so I would say all these things that I believed at the time, which was like, I know reincarnation is real. I know we've been here multiple times. I know there's fairies and angels and there's multiple gods, and I have my own, and the sun is a god, and this is this. And of course, I'm telling this to a bunch of evangelical Christians, and I remember the looks on their faces. I remember the energy that they were with all of this, like, oh my God, this girl is weird, but Jesus loves her, so we will keep going. And somebody saying, so I remember that part. And then somewhere in there, I had an experience with the being I called Jesus, and it was life-changing. And that swayed me, and I became a Christian. The reason I'm telling you this is after I became a Christian, and I'm now a part of this new group, people would ask me about my previous beliefs, and they would say, like, well, didn't you think those were weird? And I was like, no, it wasn't weird, because that's what I knew. That's all there was. And, you know, my family dynamic mixed with my religious dynamic was a mess. Like, we had sexual abuse, and my parents argued and fought all the time. I was calling the police sometimes. Like, it was a mess. But that's what I knew reality as. There wasn't anything other than that. Until I started to get out into the world and start to get that, oh, wait, this isn't all there is. In fact, there's so many other choices. In fact, oh my God, I get to create those choices, and that came with Access Consciousness. But, so this is the thing. It's like when you don't know that your whole reality is built on something that's not true, or it's built on something, and you don't know what your reality is built on, and you don't know that you can create a different reality if you choose. And part of that could be destroying the one you built already, because that's faulty. Then you're fucked, and not in a good way. So all of us, so the big five are the Mobius strips, the reality, the Mobius strips that compose what we call reality. Reality is just what you form it to be. And most of our reality has been formed unconsciously. And most of our formations have come from the stuff we picked up on in the garbage heap we were born into, because we didn't know any better. That's what we learned as reality. Did you learn that you could create as much wealth and magic and money as you want to? Or did you learn that money's limited, it's hard, it's always going to take too long and be too much? You know, did you learn that you're a massive gift, and that if you'll broadband your gift to the entire world, that you can create something totally different the world has never seen? Or did you learn, don't be too much, don't be too loud, don't rise above the median line, the status quo, don't go above that? You know, what did you learn in your garbage heap? And I'm not putting down parents or any of that, because we all chose what we chose. They chose what they chose. I want to address what the basis for your reality may have been. Was it based in possibility? Choosing for possibility? Choosing for something greater? Choosing for you? Including you? Having something greater? Or was it based in presumptions? For example, presumptions are things that are so true that you don't even question them. For example, this desk. This desk is hard. Is this desk hard, or is it what I call hard and what I've decided is hard? Now, because I have presumed that this desk is hard, and in this reality, if I bump into it with my leg, it will hurt me, I will build my whole interaction with it based on the presumption that it's hard. Now, if I were to completely dismantle what I thought is real and true, I would be a question with this desk. Like, what are you? What can I do with you? Can I change you? Can I receive from you? Can I communicate with you? Do you communicate? And if so, how? Now, we presume a lot of different things, like desks can't talk. Is that true? Is that real? Or is that the presumption we're functioning from? Inanimate objects don't speak. Is that true? Is that real? Or is that the presumption we're functioning from? Entities don't exist. Ghosts aren't real. Is that true? Is that real? Or is that the presumption we're functioning from? Money is hard. Is that true? Is that real? Or is that the presumption we're functioning from? So that's just one element of the big five, right? Your what you call reality, what you're functioning from as real, you have to then prove is real. So this is where the second element comes in. And I'm going to invite you guys to purchase the class that we just did. It's in the link attached to this video. I'm also going to invite you to go to Clearing with Crystal over the next however long. I'm going to be putting in new clearing loops around this big five stuff because it's so unconscious, we don't even realize we're doing it. But the second element proves that the first element is correct. So let's say you have a presumption that money is hard. First of all, you've got proof for that. We don't do any presumptions without proof. So the moment you take that as a reality, it's just true. It's just what it is. I don't know what to tell you. Money's hard. We all know that. And it can't be changed. It's just what it is. Presumptive reality. The moment you take a presumptive reality, and look, you could have bought this thing like back when you were 2. I think it was Dane who said out loud that most, if not all, of our presumptions about reality and the way reality is were purchased, like bought before the age of 2. So as you can see, this formed the building blocks of what we call reality. So then we've got our whole creative energy to try to form something out of money is hard. Well, the thing is, once you buy that as a real thing, you have to then prove it as a real thing. So then you can look back in your life and go, yeah, but I have all this proof. Look, this situation, this person, that's what happened. So you got proof, and then you have to continue proving it. So you'll keep choosing things that are hard to prove that money is hard. And then you'll finally drag yourself on your hands and knees to some access consciousness class somewhere and go, can you help me look at this, please? And the person goes, well, what's your point of view? And you're like, money is hard. And that asshole will say, well, is that true? Is that real? Or is that a presumptive reality? And you'll finally, someone will have asked you a fucking question about it. Wow. It's not real. It's not true. I've been making it real. I've been making it true. All of my energy has been going into proving this is real and true, but it's not. It's a presumptive reality. Holy shit. And then you'll get to use a tool. Well, everything that is, and everywhere you bought it and sold it, will you give that up now? Will you destroy and uncreate where you created it as real? Fuck yes. And then we'll do this crazy thing called the clearing statement. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, povits, and beyonds. Clearingwithcrystal.com, you can watch a whole video on that. Now, why do we do that? Well, because it makes it easier. When you've been building your entire reality from shit that's not true, it's hard. And it's energy consuming. And a lot of us are tired and burnt out. Not because we don't have an endless supply of energy. We are infinite beings connected to an infinite universe. But are we functioning as that? Or are we using all our energy to live in this limited, small, tiny reality as if that's all we have to choose? So what we need to do is we need to start unlocking these strips. We need to start unlocking them and go pop, 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 pop. Because the more of these we go, oh, I see you. You're a big 5. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, povits, and beyonds. Oh, I see you. You're a big 5. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, povits, and beyonds. That unlocks the polarity. The only time you can hold something in place is if you've got a conflicted universe, basically. You've got somewhere it's right and somewhere it's wrong to let it go. And so that holds it in place. So you start going pop, pop, pop. And what that does is that gives you access for the choices you really have available to you. Here's a clearing you can run if you want. And when I say run a clearing, I mean you can get an app on your phone that repeats it constantly. You can just sit in your house with your coffee and say it out loud 30 times a day for 30 days. You can put it on a Post-it note. I'll give you one. How much of the big 5, how much of this stuff are you using? How much of the big 5 are you using to maintain a limited life? Are you choosing? And everything that is, everywhere you bought it, you sold it, you purchased it, you made it yours, everywhere you created that is real, as your only choice, will you destroy and uncreate all that? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pock, all main shorts, boys, pobits, and beyonds. You have choices available to you that right now you might not be able to see. And anywhere that something feels impossible, not gettable, like so much of a non-reality you can't even, is a place where you've crafted what's real and true for you from this big five stuff. So I would encourage you to go after this with all your guts, sprinkle this shit on everything. There's a class you can buy in the shop on the Access site. There's a one-off call in my shop as of now attached to this video. There's going to be clearing loops at clearingwithcrystal.com. And you have you. Your choice is the source of everything in your life. If you feel like you have no choices, then you've just made these big five elements greater than you. They're not greater than you. You can create anything that you truly desire to create. You can choose 4 possibilities. Now, what's it going to take to be willing? And what's it going to take to get access to the choices you really have? I'll see you next week.